Hi and welcome to the 33rd Hammer tutorial. What we're going to be covering today is inputs and outputs. We've dabbled in these a little bit, and all we're going to do is we're going to go put up Hammer, and we're going to cover some basic things about I.O. What I.O. is, it's inputs and outputs, or events or triggers, however you want to look at it. There's a couple basic things to know that is pretty simple to follow. Typically, most things are triggered by buttons or trigger multiples. Now, everything has different conditions and actions. Now, the easiest way to know these is to go to the Valve developer community. You go to their website, and then you just say, for instance, a func button. This is what will trigger most things. It's func button. You come here, and it gives you inputs and outputs. Now, to be able to use these and make a button, you just press Ctrl T on a block and you make a func button, click apply. Now, in order for something to use I.O., you need it to have a name. So I'm just going to name this button. Now, press apply, and then you go to Outputs tab, and this is where you can pretty much program things. Now, you'll see here that there is my output named, target entities named, via this input, parameter override, and after a delay in seconds of, and then fire only once. Now, to make these available, you need to press add, and now you'll get this window up here, well, this bar. And now these have become ungrayed out, and I'm going to make it open this door here, which is just a func move linear. And you go to outputs, and then my output named. What my output named is, it's basically the condition on it's when this happens, you move on. So this is going to be on pressed. So when this gets pressed, the event of on pressed are target entities. And what will be listed here is this is every entity in your map that has a name. So you just want to select door, and then via this input. Now, depending on what you choose for target entities named, it changes what's on via this input. So, like for this func move linear, which is what we have selected here, our outputs are add output, alpha, clear, parent, close, color, fire user 1 through 4, kill hatchery, open, set parent attachment, set parent, maintain offset, set position, and set speed. Now, those are just the names of it. If you want to find out more about that, that's when you go to the Valve developer community. You input the name, and you go down to the inputs here, and it gives you a more descriptive name of every item. So for open, move the brush to the end position, starting position plus move direction, move distance. And then close, move the brush back to the starting position. And then there's outputs. So everything has a different output and acts differently when it gets triggered. So to just have this open, I make it do open. And if I add another one, which will be on the condition of pressed again, we choose door, and now we want close. This will be after a delay in seconds. So after 5 seconds now, the door will close. But when you press the button, it starts all of these. It just delays one of them, or however many you have, for that long. And you can also check fire only once. If that's checked, the entity will only be fired once, and that is all. So the next thing is going to be having the door trigger something. There's going to be an Env Explosion. I'm just going to place it over there. And I'm going to name it Boom. So, now, this door can have outputs too. You go to the outputs, if you click add, and now there's the outputs on fully opened and on fully closed, which we saw right here, and fired when the brush reaches the end position. So, when it becomes fully opened, we're going to have boom explode. And now if you want to see what outputs and inputs the Env Explosion has, you just go back to the Valve developer community, look at the inputs and outputs. So now we come back here, and our func door, it fires stuff and it has stuff going in it. That's what these two mean. This is the inputs icon and this is the outputs icon. If you click on them, it'll take you straight to the inputs or output tab. On the outputs tab, you'll see everything that you have programmed, and there's a mark button. If you click mark, it'll center your views and select the item that it's targeting. So on the door, because it's targeting the boom, when I click mark, it selects the Env Explosion. So now I can find out what happens, like with a chain of commands. And on the door, its inputs are coming from this button. So if I were to click mark, it'll select the button over here. And there's an infinite number of things you can do with just inputs and outputs. You can start fires, you can have stuff rotate, you can have stuff turn on, turn off, you can turn lights on and off even. So that was my short tutorial on inputs and outputs. We've dabbled in it a little bit before. Hopefully this has explained it a little bit better so you can figure out on your own. I'll use this a lot in tutorials. Just dabble with it a little bit. Use the Valve developer community to help you along with your inputs and outputs. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll also compile this and show you in Counter-Strike. Alright, now we're in Counter-Strike, and the door is triggered by this button here. It opens, and then when it reaches fully opened, it explodes the explosion behind it, and then closes 5 seconds later. You can watch it do it again. It's for awesomeness. Now, if you turn on SV cheats, now this command only works in single player. Even if you're online with SV cheats on, it won't work. You put an ENT message draw 1, and now you can see all the commands that are getting fired. We press E on that, and it draws a line there, says explode, and it'll close it. So this is also a very useful command for troubleshooting your outputs. I hope this tutorial has helped you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.